One little feature that I think would be quite nice to have in Knack natively would be the opportunity to have a summary of information on a page. And what I mean by this is I have a list of clients here. I've got 9 clients, and at the top I can show how many are pending. So 4, 3 approved, that's 7, and 2 are declined. So that's my 9. So if I filter this list down, these are my 4, my 3 approved, and my 2 declined. And if I change this one to approved, that will dynamically update these figures here. So I've now got 4 and 1. And if I move this one to approved, I've now got 5 and 0. So to do this, it's fairly straightforward, but normally when you're counting records and counting things like statuses, it's normally related to things like documents. So on this record, I have 14 related notes. So if I went into this particular view and I scroll down, you can see these are all my notes, and I can count them because they're connected to this particular record. Now, this is kind of the parent level. So this is the top level of the client's table. There isn't anything above it that enables me to count these records. So what we can do is actually create a table and connect this table to this summary. If you enjoy these videos, please do give it a thumbs up. I enjoy creating them, but it encourages me to keep going. Obviously, if you're not subscribed, hit the link and I'll jump in and show you how to set this up. So inside my classic Clips application, I've got a fairly standard client grid. So this is my Boris Johnson and David Cameron, Edward Heath, my clients. And if I scoot over to the right hand side, I've created a connection here to a new table called Project Status Total. And every record is just connected to one record. Now, let me explain. On the left-hand side, this is my table called Project Status Totals, which is connected to the client. And there is only one record. So every single client connects to this one record called Status Totals. And therefore, I can then count how many pending records are inside my client table. So if I show you here, this is a standard Knack count field, and it's counting the clients that are connected to this project status total. And then I've simply filtered it to show where the status is pending. And then I have this next one here, which is counting approved. And this is exactly the same. It's connected to the clients, and it's filtered to only count where the status is approved. And then obviously the last one is filtered to show where the status is declined. I also have these rather funky colored ones for amber, green, and red, but I'll circle back to that in a second. Coming back to my client table, I'm just going to put it into the fields view and just show you that this is a connection which connects one client, or each client connects with one project status total, which is the other table. And the project status total connects with many clients. So as mentioned a moment ago, there is only one option in this list, and every client connects to the status totals, which is this particular record. Therefore, I can then count how many records are in the client table. In the Live app, I have a pop-up form that adds a new client, and on this form, you just need to set a record rule to set that connection. So over in my Builder on my Pages section, this is my Add Client form, and I have a record action on here, which is setting the project status total field to a custom value, and there is only one option, which is that one row in that table, the status totals. So I'm just going to add a new client. So we're going to add our current Prime Minister. I'm just going to submit that. And the default is pending. So Keir Starmer has been added in as pending. If I come back to my records, you can see him here. And if I scoot over, you can see it's connected via the one field in the project status total. So back in my Live app, I have 5 pending, 5 approved, and 0 declined. And if I come back to my totals, you can see I have 5, 5, and 0. To set up the colored version of the count, all you need to do is add a text formula field and then add in this little bit of HTML and put your field in here. So this is the count pending field inside this string of HTML, which sets the color and sets the font size and makes it bold. So count pending is this field. So then you do the same for count approved. So add a text formula and then copy the code and then put in your count approved field. And then on the last one, which will be count declined, just put in the variable count declined inside that string. In the pages section, this is my page of clients with my button to add a client. And this is a grid from the project status totals. So you can see here that this is the project status total records, and it will just show one row. And then I've just dropped on the colored versions of the fields. So if I come back here and say add fields and columns, you could put your pending one on here, which will just be the standard text. If I put the formatted one next to it, I'll have a duplicate. Just going to save that, come back and do a refresh. And you can see I have my normal font there and I have the colored one. So all I've done is just tidied up the heading and removed the word count and formatted to leave pending, and then done the same for approved and declined. So I'm just going to come back and remove those. There's a couple of other little things that you'll need to do is you'll have the title showing here of 1 of 1. So if you just come back a step, go to settings, you just need to turn off all these options so nothing displays like the keyword search, turn off the filtering, don't allow people to filter and hide all the navigation. But you will still see this showing 1 of 1. So I'll provide you with a little snippet of CSS to be able to hide that. Now this particular view is view 616. I'm just going to jump back into the API and code and go to the CSS, and then down the bottom here, this is specific to this view. So view 616, KN entries, summary, and then display none. So I'll put that little bit of code linked in the description, so you can add that in and then hide it per view. There is also a way to do this using KTL, so you can use a keyword, but if you're not using KTL, this you can replicate, and if you have it on multiple views, you can obviously add additional views to that. So the other little addition I've got on this view is a KTL feature. So if I click on the component and go to settings and scroll down, I'm using the keyword _HA for header alignment. That just makes sure that the heading is actually centerized as the text is. On this particular view, if I go back a level and click on the field, I've set the default to custom and 50 pixels wide and centerized. But without the KTL feature, Knack will align it to the left. So if I remove that keyword, if you're not using KTL, I'm sure there is a way to do it in CSS, but the header alignment feature is really simple. So if you're not using KTL, you'll look like this, with your labels will be left aligned and your number will be centerized. The other thing I like to do is to add a couple of empty rich text fields to the right hand side of this. Therefore, it sort of squishes up the grid so it doesn't go to full width of the screen, because it looks a little bit strange spread right out. So simply, this is a rich text field and it has nothing in it. So having two next to each other just forces this to be kept on the left hand side. You can do it with code, but I find that having those rich text fields works really well if you have varying sizes of screens. I hope you found that interesting. If you did, once again, give us a thumbs up and I'll catch you on the next one.